I did want to quickly discuss Trey Leone and Liam Gamoa, because they are two lads who, according to Transfermarkt, are out of contract at the end of the season. They will want to get both of them tied up and sorted, if that is the case, quickly.
Yeah, is that not because they're not full contracts?
Rio will be in that boat. I'm not sure about Trey. Trey's a bit older.
Yeah, that's true. He did sign a contract, didn't he, Leone, at some point last season? Might have even been in 2025. I do remember a contract being signed. So
I'm a little surprised they haven't done something with Rio, because he turned 17 a couple of weeks ago. And normally that leads to professional terms, a new deal. Yeah,
I'm sure there is something agreed behind the scenes there. Pretty much certain of it that will be the case. That if he turns 18, it'll be next August. Then he'll come in on maybe a bit more of a senior contract than a traditional 18-year-old deal. I'm not sure, but it won't just be a lad to drift, that one, I'm certain.
Yeah, likewise. 2027, Alisson Becker. I think there's a talking point there, because we are in the realms of doing something on that deal if we wanted to, if we felt so inclined. Alisson Becker likewise. What do you think could happen there?
Well, he spoke, I think it was about a year ago now, we spoke to a few of my colleagues, and I think it was Doyley in place for us on that one, and he spoke quite openly about the interest from Saudi Arabia at the time, and still felt he had a lot to give at Liverpool. Interestingly, he was consulted on the move for Mamardashvili and his thoughts on it, and I think Alisson is treated as a little bit of a special case within the playing squad in terms of his status among the goalkeepers. I think Liverpool, you can have the debates about how good Van Dijk is, in terms of is he the best player in the world, Salah, all this sort of stuff. But I think Liverpool feel quite unequivocally that Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the world. Therefore, you have to treat him a little bit differently. So he's almost a sounding board for the goalkeeping department. So he was asked about Mamardashvili. So I guess a lot of it will depend on what he's feeling in terms of, does he want to stay? Would he like to possibly go back to Brazil? Does he feel that the Saudi project is something for him? So a lot depends on Alisson. I couldn't foresee a world without Alisson Becker at Liverpool.
Don't want to.
But Liverpool have Liverpool have safeguarded themselves with Mamardashvili. Obviously, Ahmed Pexi comes in as well, doesn't he? Young Hungarian with a lot of potential. So yeah, I think much will depend on what Alisson is feeling at the time. So still, best part of 2 years, isn't it, before Liverpool have to confront it, or maybe 12 months. So yeah, I mean, he was speaking quite openly about, maybe he would consider staying beyond the end of his contract because of how much he enjoys it at Liverpool. So yeah, he was making all the right noises in that interview, but that was a year or so ago now, coming up to a year, I think. So, maybe his internal plans have changed, but yeah, he is one of the leaders, isn't he? So, hopefully he stays well into his late 30s.
Yeah, it'd be nice, and goalkeepers don't really, age in many ways. They seem to get better with it. Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, very well documented on their contract situations. Obviously, they do expire in 2027. We won't talk about them now. We did enough of that over the past 12 months. Curtis Jones. Interesting. This is one I do feel Liverpool will want to address and tie up pretty quickly. It doesn't feel particularly complicated either.
Yeah, maybe not. He's obviously a different status to the last one he signed. I think was that 2022 maybe. It's a different manager. It's a totally different structure at the club, and he's grown in seniority since then, isn't he? So yeah, he's on the fringes of the England squad now, isn't he? So. Yeah, I mean, maybe there will be a discussion there to be had, but I'm sure it's not one that would be problematic behind the scenes. No,
again, I think something reflecting his importance on the squad and sort of his status in that squad may well be due. Mustafa Endo also expires in 2027. The reason, obviously, we're speaking about this, somebody mentioned Ryan Gravenberch and potential new deal for him, maybe reflecting his standing within the squad now, which has changed a lot since he arrived, it's fair to say. His contract, his current deal expires in 2028, as does Dominic Szoboszlai's, as does Alexis McAllister's. They're all big ones, and I think they're all on their first deal, like the deals they signed, and no one's had a new contract since arriving. So, as a free go, it's a hell of a midfield for the start, but they're all very, very important.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what Liverpool, hope when they buy these players. They come in on wages that aren't necessarily, top tier, in terms of the people at the club, the players at the club. And there's room to grow. There's room for the bottom line to improve as the status improves within the squad and the performances, are shown on the pitch. So I think all three of those are going in the direction that Liverpool would like. And if you see what I mean, Diogo Jota was the one, to be fair. Looking back, when he come into the squad, he comes in as almost a backup to Firmino and Salah and Mane, and then grows in stature within the squad, performances on the pitch, and then he signs a new contract. Maybe there was another one after that, I can't quite remember, but he was almost a poster boy for how you do it, how you go about it. You come in sort of with something to prove, and then once you have proven that, you are rewarded with a new contract and an increase on the bottom line. So McAllister, Szoboszlai, and certainly Gravenberch, you would argue, have all done that over the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point, when you go on and look at sort of the years that the lads' contracts are going to expire, so Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister are the three sort of old lads, if you like, the ones who've been here prior to the summer, because after that it's Conor Bradley and Cody Gakpo, we mentioned at the top, have already signed new deals recently, and then it's literally all the summer signings. So those three, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister, are the three in waiting, if you like. They feel as though in terms of levels of importance, because there will be clubs looking at them. There's been Real Madrid and McAllister rumours. Obviously, Gravenberch's status in the game has gone up tenfold since he arrived. Yeah. Szoboszlai is excellent. His importance to the team remains. So, again, Liverpool will be wise. All signed in 2023, all signed the same summer. Contracts all expire at the same time as well. Whilst there is still some time away, they'll be conscious of the eyes watching them and the interest, and they'll want to get them tied down in better terms, etc., etc., etc. relatively quickly, you would have thought. Yeah,
I mean, it's all about being proactive, isn't it? So you're not in a situation where you found yourself last year with three of your best players out of contract and so much uncertainty over it. And, had those players not performed like they did, and the team in general, that could have been a really destabilising storyline, couldn't it, or subplot for the squad. So they don't want to be in a similar boat to that. In what would it be, maybe 18 months' time. So it's something for them to look at maybe over the course of this season. Maybe not necessarily today, but maybe the back end of this season it starts floating on the horizon a little bit. Something for them to look at. But yeah, I mean, at the moment you would suggest that all three are massively important players for the club. They have shown that they deserve to be seen in a different light to when they arrived, when it was a bit of a new look midfield. Let's see how it goes. And yeah, Ryan Gravenberch, for me, don't think there's a better all-round midfielder in the Premier League. Dominic Szoboszlai has started the season in fantastic fashion, and Alexis McAllister, you're still waiting for him to get up to 100%, I think, having not had the proper pre-season, but we know how important he is as well. So yeah, all three, huge parts of this Arne Slot squad, and something for the club to look at maybe second half of the season. It starts becoming a bit of a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned Keyes is also in the same boat in terms of that 2028 expiry. I just think his will be so related to sort of like how much he plays and all that sort of stuff. I will quickly, we glossed over Virgil and Mo, and rightfully so. We won't spend much time talking about them now, but there is a fascination around both of them because obviously they signed those 2-year extensions, but almost immediately, the day after, it feels like you're in a sort of an area where Liverpool will be start looking at the contracts. So it was such a positive thing, but then literally the moment they play again, you go, actually, we could do with them being around for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, you get one season out of it, don't you? And then you're back in the same boat you were in. So they kicked it down the road a little bit, but judging the age of the players, the plans, particularly for Salah, he might fancy trying the Saudi Pro League. I don't really see him anywhere else really at this stage of his career, but he might fancy being the poster boy for that league if the sort of bells and whistles are still being tagged onto it at that point. But yeah, I don't see too many issues around Virgil particularly, but Mo might have his own plans and his own wishes, but for now Liverpool are okay. Probably something that they have a conversation about in the close season, sort of June, July time, and see what has developed there.
Yeah, we've been here before, haven't we? So I guess we're even more relaxed than they were first time around because they know it can be left until very, very late. I mean, both will have suitors, of course, they will. But Virgil in particular, as you say, the captain, and I think, as it stands, as we sit here right now, a new contract once again would be no injustice and would reflect how excellent he's been, actually.
That was a clip from Journo Insight. To check out the whole show, head to redmenplus.com or click the link in the description.